right, time for the mountains for the Rancho Mirage Lollipop. So you guys already have the this guy already laid out. Everything's all pretty much done with that. Looks good. So now it's for the mountains, and the mountains aren't that much more. It's just a lot of little fiddly bits. It's a big puzzle that kind of goes together. And once you're kind of done putting it together, it's not like a lot to it, but there could be some stuff that if you don't do it in the right order, or just some stuff to watch out for. Plus, the overall strategy I have for wiring it together, kind of showing you where all the wires are supposed to go, because we have to kind of cram it all in there. So with that being said, let's get after it. So we have the mountains themselves. There will be some island fills to clearance the riv nuts, so look for that. And then you'll have the main frame pieces, but basically it's all put together with a 1/4 inch, and then you'll have the actual base plate that goes to the ground. And then these are the mountain LED basically trays, kind of lock everything in. So there's, like I say, there's not a lot to it. There's just these pieces, but how it all gets welded together, and it's kind of a cool system, if I dare say so. We did the one in 2008. But that was all kind of done by hand and graph paper. So this is the first time, but I did borrow from the way I made those, and they seem to work out pretty good. So we're just going to be copying that method. So just to orient what's going on here, we have the left and the right. Now I usually sort of just go off of the nautical starboard and port. That's a lot better. That way things don't get confused based on how you're looking at it. But for this one, I went ahead and just chose the left and right. So it is when you're looking at the sign. So it's if you're standing in front of it, you put out your left hand as you face the lollipop and face the ram. So this is the back side here. Obviously, the front side will be the words and everything. So your left arm is your left side and your right side. Now, I know where this is located. So going west would actually be the right-hand side, and coming back east towards Palm Desert is the left-hand side. So the right-hand side got crunched pretty good, and it's out of commission as far as the frame as well. So I went ahead and put the power and everything on the left side because it's still sort of, I don't know, intact, if you will. So you can see here's some of the pictures. So this is the left side, which is the side that is going east. This is the east side. Is it? Yeah. Which side is it? Yeah, no, that's the east side. That's the side going back to Palm Desert. You can see it right there. So the right-hand side is the one that got smushed. You can see the frames kind of out of commission there. So in order to get the power in, I went ahead and just made sure that the left-hand or the right-hand side here, because this is the back side. So the right side is clear. So you're going to wire it around, and then power is going to come into the actual sign itself on the side that isn't all smashed up. So somewhere in here, install will have to get the wire up into the RAM Lollipop top, which is you've already done that part. That's this guy here. So you can see I've got the 224 volts here. And then I imagine if we're not going to rewire this, it's probably all 12 volt, those Agilite, the old stuff. If we're going to leave the existing letters and everything, we have to have 12 volt for that. But the LEDs we're putting in, you got the Betro tape. That's all going to be 24 volts. So we need to get all the wires. So all leashes and everything you're going to wire this up with have to get up into the Lollipop. I could say obviously, but maybe you don't know that. So anyway, so let's start getting after it here. So the whole general idea is, you can tell by the way this all looks, is it's just one big Mjolnir, like a monument Mjolnir, but it's going to be flipped upside down. So whereas this would be the top of the Mjolnir for a monument sign, and then you weld all the fins to it, and then all the fins go into the dirt, and that's how we mount the monument sign. It's just going to be upside down. So you're going to lock in dog bone style all of these chunks here. Now, I think I got all the crisscrosses properly. I kind of hurried through this. It's not an excuse, but it could be a reason. There's a difference between a reason and an excuse. If something's kind of goofy, but I think everything should lock together properly. But you can see where we have the crisscross action. So like where the red goes across here and this red crosses there, you have that interlock like we like to do, like I like to do anyway. So you have that interlock there. And that goes with the interlock on this boy here. So keep an eye out for the interlocks. Make sure everything goes together properly. But the secret will be, you kind of want to work from the inside out. So as you put these center boys in there, the little in-between dividers, catch those, and then these guys will toaster slot in from the top. I purposely didn't put a dog bone at the end of these, so that way they should just slot in from the top. And then that will be, so these guys in the middle, these middle fins are actually what holds the middle mountains together. So if we go here, like the green here is the middle mountain, it will actually slide in front of these. And then from the front side, you'll have access holes, and you can see where it's orange here. Each orange will be a riv nut 5/16 from the inside. So you have to use like a little socket extension. This is more for install, but you'll slide those in, and the middle mountains will be captured from the inside. So I didn't do this just to be fancy, but essentially there is no mounting hardware visible except on the inside, on the backside. And then of course the front will have the countersunk hex nuts all the way around. That's really the only way to do it. So that's kind of how that goes together. So, and again, that's why I say install the riv nuts, because these guys here get riv nuts, and then when you put them on the inside, they're going to be captured in between. You're not really going to be able to get the riv nut gun in there. So make sure you just go ahead and do all the riv nuts first, and then you're just going to do Mjolnir style. Lock in all your dog bones, lock in the end caps here at the end here. So everything should lock in properly, but kind of work your way from the middle out, and then go ahead and put all the sides on, and it should just be welding together a Mjolnir. You don't have to get too crazy. It just has to sit there and look pretty and hold the mountains. So I would keep the full welds, you know, get the weld porn going. I'd keep that to a minimum just to keep it from turning into a big taco. So a Pringles chip. All right, so then you're going to have essentially an upside down Mjolnir with all the pockets, the cavities all the way around. That's where the wiring is going to run. And then the way it'll work is then you get onto the 090. And the 090 is just going to be, essentially, it's just going to cover those pockets. And that will be what houses all the wiring. So what you're going to do is just bend these up. Now, I would not overcook these. I would make sure that these stay as 90 as possible, because then you're going to take all of these rings, and all these rings are the same, except for the backside. So the backside are tall boys, you can kind of tell. And then there's two, I talked to you about that. For the backside, there's two end caps that will hold in the backside polycarb tubes. We'll get to that. But you got the long ones here, and then you've got the short boys here. And so there's a reference kiss inside. There should be plenty of room if they're a little off, but the idea will be to take this, and obviously you have 090 thickness here, and this is a 0.165, or did I do 0.158? What did I do on that? Yeah, 0.15. Anyway, there's plenty of room for this to go click, clack, click, clack. So what I would do is just choose one side and just lock it into one side of the reference kiss, and then just kind of work your way along. But these are just to hold the polycarb tube. You can see here, like this would be the polycarb tube for the back. It's just to hold it in place, lock it in so nobody can get, you know, we'll just walk in and take it or whatever. But that's all. You're just tacking them. I would just do like a tack on both sides on the bottom, and then like do a tack here and a tack there. Heats the enemy, but really these are just to make sure that the polycarb tubes don't go anywhere, and just hold them in place. Anyway, so you're going to do that, get these bent, get them sexy, go ahead and tack, 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 get all the rings. And then that's it for that. And then just on the backside as well, it's the same thing. You have this flat side here, and then it kind of kicks up. This side is the side you weld, and you just bottom it along here, and you bottom it along there. And then it's going to, that you tack it all up, and that's going to be the main backside here, and then this side. And then when it comes time to put everything together, you're going to have, like I say, just the front has the countersunk, like sexy hex bolts up front to make it look good. And again, let's make sure these get to paint, because they're going to be sort of doing an airbrush on these. I think that's what we did on the last one, kind of airbrush them, make it look pretty. So we want to make sure that these get painted, at least these ones. On the backside and in the inside, obviously, it's just going to be regular hex nuts. But when it comes time to assemble, the back hex nuts are actually going to hold the back mountains on, and they're actually going to hold on the tube assembly as well. It's going to sandwich, and you can see there's the bolt there. So it'll be hex nut, it'll be riv nuts all the way around, 5/16, and then you're just going to hex bolt those together, and it comes together as one assembly. So And then for the top ones, I thought this was kind of clever. I know, pat myself on the back. Hopefully it works. But the middle mountains are going to have tabs on them. Where's my mountains? Where's my mountains? There you go. So you can see here, these tabs that come down, they're going to slot in all along the middle part, and they're going to capture the 09. So the 09 will actually be kind of tool free. It'll just lock in place, and then you can see where the 3/8 will lock in right there in front of the middle part you put in, and then from the outside you're just going to put you're going to reach in with an extension and hit that with a bolt, and then the 5/16 bolt's going to hold that in place. So once the mountain is on top of the 090 carrying the LED tray, it'll be locked in place, and then once the front mountain goes on, it will block all access, and so that way it's kind of sealed up. So the only way to get in there would be have to take off the front mountains, and then that gives you access to all of these ports here in the front and on the side that allows you access to the middle mountains, and then you have to take the middle mountains off in order to take the LED trays off. So anyway, so I thought that was kind of clever, but you just want to make sure that that gets done in that proper order. And like I say, you're not going to be able to access the riv nuts on the inside guys here. And then while we're here, these reference kissed points that are on the middle, when you go to weld this together, make sure that these are no fly zones. So because the tabs have to slide down and sort of, I've got a 1/4 inch room here, but they don't exactly bottom out. But you want to make sure that when that tab comes down, you can see where the orange is, that tab is going to be right about here. So that no fly zone means do not put welds in that area. So you can weld all along here, and then you can actually weld on the backside. The backside's fine, but you want to not weld inside any of those areas. This is where I have it here. There you go. So inside here, do not weld along that side, but on the backside you can weld fine. And then you can also tell that I have a reference kiss or an island fill, and that's going to put the riv nut flush. It's going to put it back. So that way when that middle mountain comes down and you bolt it together, that tab sits flush. So you want to make sure nothing sticks out. You want to make sure the riv nut is seated properly. And when you weld these in, you want to keep your left and right, because you want to make sure that is facing forward. So that way the mountain doesn't cause any problems. Because your riv nuts are about a 32nd. So that's why you have to make sure that's all good. All right, so I think you got it. Mjolnir it up. Make sure you do everything in order. Make sure nothing gets too crazy or gets out of order. That way you don't go, oops, I got to cut it apart or whatever. And then all the access will be from the front. And then when it comes to the LEDs, I believe you've ordered it up. The front is white, and we can go over this, but the front is white. The middle is amber, and then the back side will be the RGB. And then the RGB, you're just going to short circuit. You're going to not use the green, and you're just going to twist together the red and blue and send that up into the head. And then we're going to fire off the red and blue together, and that's going to make purple. So they want purple on the backside, amber in the middle, and white on the front. So that's your order there. You already got that right there. No controllers needed. So let's go to the cut list. So you got that polycarb tube that I brought in. So you got the 1 inch by 1/8. You've got your inside, your middle, and then the outside, which is the white. So you got white, amber, and then inside is your purple. And then you're going to cut flat bar. That's going to be the same length. And then the flat bar is what you're going to stick that tape to. So you got the ones in the front, and then you got the 2 wings on the sides. So you got 16s for the front, or from the outside, which is the front one, white, middle is 16, and then the back side is 18 for the purple. And then what you're going to do is slide those in, and when you get them all wired up and with the leashes and everything, just go ahead and put a dab of silicone on the ends. You don't need to silicone it shut. You don't need to do anything like that, because we kind of want it to breathe. You get the condensation out of there. There are drain holes in the end caps, the 3D printed stuff. We'll go over that in a second. But they'll take care of all the condensation. But you just want to kind of lock them in place, so that way when we need to adjust the angle, that way they don't slide around and they don't slide out or anything like that. So you're just on the 2 ends, just kind of stick them in place and make sure they don't go anywhere. And then that's it for that. That way they're sort of like a modular, they're just like a component, like a modular stick, LED stick. So anyway, and then the way that works is you're going to like wire everything up. You're just going to take all the wires and collect them and get them over to the power. Like I said, we want to make sure that the power is collected to the left side, which is the side that's still somewhat viable, which is over here. So like I said, install we can get all the wire to collect, whether it's the backside purple, it's the amber and the white, get it all into this area. And before they put the front outside mountains on, you can reach in there and collect all the wires. And then I went ahead and put a 7/8 hole here in the middle in that section. So I clearanced the LED bar thing for it. And I also clearanced the, what do you call it? The actual 1/4 inch, and then I clearanced the mountain for it. So that way you can try to get your LED power out of there, maybe with some flex conduit, some liquid tight, or whatever it takes. Now, understand, as long as we just go ahead and maybe cover it with a little something, all of the wire we use is PLTC. It's weather rated, it's sunlight rated, so it actually doesn't need to be in anything. As long as we can just sneak it over from this little hole here and get it to the, what's left over here, just get it up there. That should be fine. I don't think we need to do the full on liquid tight like they did in the, 1990s or whenever this originally was put up. So we don't need to go through all of that. This is going to be much more elegant. It's going to be all nice. So like I said, though, you're going to be wiring up. So when we go back to the 09, you'll have these runs out on all the 3D printed stuff. So I have those pulled up. So as you know, you got these guys already sent these over to you. So through the wire here, and then you're just going to do a number 10 to hold it down right there. So that's where those guys go. You can see like right there, that's the guy right there. So you're just going to pick a side and then run a leash out. And then in this pocket area here, I figure, because you can see there's the mouse holes right there for that right there. That matches that, right? So that's the mouse holes. So you can see, I would say blue wire, just, weld some on, solder it on, bring it out, and then you can collect these two mountains in this area here, and then you can collect them and then jump them to this, and then you can then bring them over and jump them here, and then from there you can bring it over, and then this is kind of the collection point. That's the rally point for all the wires, is on that left side. So get all the leashes over, get them all connected up, and then if the math is correct, maybe you could install a favor and get everything sort of leashed and ready to go. The thing is that all of this needs to be off because they need to access this for blue screws first. So install will be wiring all this and like assembling this in the field. So make sure that, but I'm just saying, like, make sure you have the leashes necessary to collect here and like to collect there, and then have that long leash from these guys to get up, however it's going to work, but then they can get that up into the sign itself at this point and run it up. So, and then for the backside, that's why I gave you these cool blocks, right? So this is the left side. The other side is just a shorter one. It says R on it for right, but it doesn't go as long. The reason why it's longer on this one is that this is where the power will come into the mountain. So this is the bottom part. This is the top part. I already have them assembled, so you can ignore this part. So imagine that this is the left side. This is the long piece of polycarb this way. And then this will be the shorter person over here. This is the shorter 18. So that's the right side. So you'll do the 18 here, and then you'll kind of bring it over. Now this right-hand side has this much room in it. You can go ahead and make that connection inside this little box. That's what I made. These are like J boxes. And then bring that over. And then you can then choose to either run a leash out and in, like make just a separate leash for that. And then this is the other 18. So this is the 18 on the left side here, right? And then it's going to collect to this point. This right here is the entry into the mountain right here. That is this point right there, right? So that part right there is this part right here. So you can either bring these two leashes, make a junction there in the right-hand side, and then bring that over. And then you can either run this separately in as a long leash and make connections in here, or you can bring this leash, connect them in here, and then do one long. But again, this is the rally point. You got to bring everything to the left side. And then at that point, that's how that works. So you can see where on the left-hand mountain, that is the entry hole right there. So this mountain entry hole corresponds with this point right there. All right. Yeah, lots going on in that. So hopefully that works for you. Hopefully that all makes sense. Of course, I'm always here for questions, but I think you guys got it. Again, you guys are going to be doing the countersink by hand on that because we're doing the island fill on the backside, so there is no flip. So let's make those look nice and sexy. I got you the countersinks for that. You got all the hardware for that. But anyway, I think that's it. You got all your mouse holes. You're just going to be running power all the way through these mouse holes. Get it all over there. Rally points on the left. These pictures are in sales pics. If you do need to look these up, so you can look those up there. But anyway, yeah, you got that. You got the 3D stuff, 3D prints all there. So again, I think you guys got it. Yeah, you can see that's, oh, by the way, yeah, that was the end cap I was telling you about. So you're going to take that one, those two plugs that I 3D printed, they go in here. You can see that's where I left that 1/8 inch. So you're just going to smash those in. And then when you slide this in and you bolt it on, it gets captured. And then you're going to go ahead and put the 3D printed places after. So you're going to slide this on, you're going to go ahead and bolt this on, and then you screw this together, and that captures those in place, the two tubes on that side. So that's kind of, there's sort of an order the way this all goes together. And again, install, if you're watching this, Jonathan, you know, we can go over this separately once everything's all done. I'll give you an idea, but I think you got the idea of kind of how it goes together. So yeah, so these will slide in and then they get bolted on and they get captured in place. That way somebody can't walk over and slide it out. Not that anyone would, but anyway. LEDs are a lot different than it was 20 years ago when we made the other one, because LEDs were actually a thing. Now you can, you know, everyone has LEDs everywhere. So LEDs are not even worth vandalism anymore, but they kind of were 20 years ago. So anyway, so I think you got the idea. It's kind of all over the place, but I think you got it. But if not, hit me up.
Check the technique. Check the technique.